Yep.
I think just looking at the levels, which I think is always the most sensible way to look at it, because growth rates, if you've had a very deep slump, you can get very quick growth, but you're only back to where you were. So looking at the levels of the UK output, GDP, relative to other G7 countries, the latest data suggests that we are still about 0.4% below, whereas the rest of the G7 are above it. So from that perspective, which I think is probably the most relevant comparator, we are doing worse than the rest of the G7. And it's not, from what I've seen, and Gemma and Jonathan and Jill may have seen other stuff, but it's not entirely clear why that is. There's various theories going around. I read a very good analysis of this just yesterday by the team at Pantheon Macroeconomics, which pointed out that looking at the expenditure breakdowns of relative different countries, it seems to be that the UK gap is mainly due to household spending, lower household spending here. So that raises the question of why might that be lower? They point out that, you know, it may be something to do with energy prices. We use quite a lot of gas relative to other countries, and that's obviously been rising very fast because of the energy crisis. They haven't risen as fast in the US, so that's one of the less of a drag there. They also point out that core goods prices in the UK have been relatively higher than European countries, and they say that possibly a Brexit effect there, although that's a bit tentative. But what's quite interesting is also that they point out that the UK savings rate has not fallen as rapidly in other countries in the G7. That's obviously one of the reasons why perhaps household spending has not been as strong. And they say that may be due to the fact that interest rates have gone up slightly faster, quicker here relative to in Europe, certainly. And that might have hit household spending. But they also think maybe it's sort of bleaker UK prospects, so people are less willing to dip into their savings because they want to hold on to their money. Now, I don't think there's anything definitive out there, and the data has been revised quite a lot, but I think you're probably looking for a combination of those factors for what seems to be the UK relative underperformance.